Hello and welcome to another episode of the V Gains podcast. Today I'm joined by Nimai Delgado, a professional vegan bodybuilder who has been vegetarian since birth. That means he has never eaten meat in his entire life. So no steak, no chicken, no fish, no turkey, no pork, no bacon. I know, crazy. Never eaten bacon in his life. And what does it do to him? He thrives. And he not only thrives on blends, but he is crazy muscular. Check out his Instagram. So, Nimai, welcome to my show.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited too, and my follower base as well. I got so many questions. It's crazy. I took the best ones, which I'm curious too, and I think provide a lot of value and get great insights. So I make a mix of my own questions and a lot of follower questions. So shall we just start with the first follow question I got the most?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm curious to know what your audience has sent you, and I'm really excited to answer them.
Okay, I got the most about your training, and the most common one was about that. Like, what's his training like? Does he periodize, splits, etc.?
Yeah, my training has kind of been a culmination of different techniques that I've learned and studied over the past 10 years. So it's difficult to really silo my style of training into one particular style. Like, I do periodize, I do progressively overload, I do deload weeks, I'll do circuit training weeks where I don't lift much weights at all and I only focus on body weight movements. I think to put it basically is I follow a split where normally I will work out a particular body part or maybe a combination of body parts and allow myself at least 2 days to recover and then just kind of go from there. So for example, I will start off with, let's say, back on Monday, and then I'll do chest on Tuesday, I'll take a rest day, then I'll do legs, then I'll do shoulders and arms, and then I will restart. I'll start again on back. So I typically only like to take one rest day. That way I'll allow my body to recover. I won't overtrain, and then I can work out my weak points. I'm a big fan of working out weak points like 2 times a week and making them a priority. So I feel like a lot of people, whenever they train, they only like to train the things they like to train. So that's when they develop imbalances. That's why somebody's arms might not be the way they want them to look, is because they only train arms once a week. They only train chest or legs once a week, when in reality, if you want something to grow, the only way to do it is to stimulate it and force it to grow. And you can do that several times a week if you split up your training properly.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is your frequency for each muscle? Once, twice per week?
Some muscle groups once a week, and then other muscle groups 2 times a week. Like some of your smaller muscle groups, I like to work out 2 times a week. Like shoulders, for me, I have always naturally had small shoulders, so it's been a priority of mine to grow my shoulders into like those kind of cantaloupe caps that some guys have. And so I train shoulders twice a week. I used to train arms twice a week, but now I tapered it back to once a week. Or one arm day per week is what I should say, because naturally when you do chest or back or even shoulders, you do work out your arms as well, but you're just not focusing on them 100%. So that's why I've always had like a dedicated arm day where I only do biceps and triceps that day. And I think that's kind of what helped me grow my arms a little bit quicker. But now it's time for me to catch up other body parts. I'm always mindful that my arms are bigger than if you have big arms, most of the times you have smaller shoulders. If you have bigger shoulders, sometimes most guys have smaller arms. So it's about finding the balance. And then that's a big goal of mine, is to just have symmetry, have balance, have muscularity, definition, and not overdo it in any one particular area. Just have a nicely balanced aesthetic physique.
Yeah, judging by the mirror is always good. Being honest to oneself, and definitely arms are heavily involved in pull and push exercise. Many people forget that, especially if you progress and get stronger. For bench press, your triceps, for rows and everything pull up, you heavily involve your biceps, so I definitely would count that in. So your frequency, I would say, is 2 for arms, and that is great. Have you ever considered like an upper body lower body split where you even do a frequency of 3 times per week, something like that?
Yeah, I actually just started doing upper lower splits. Actually, I'm a big favorite of push pull legs.
Mm-hmm.
I find that like even though I train like when I leave the gym, like I really like the bro split, you know, the typical chest, back, arms, legs, you know, that type of like shoulders, that type of split that most bodybuilders do. I like that style just because it's worked for me for so long, where I can really dial down on the details and isolate a single muscle group and really focus on just, you know, destroying it and like really pushing yourself in the gym for that one particular muscle group. Whenever you do like upper lower or push pull, you kind of, I feel like I don't work it out as efficiently because like we talked about, you're working out other muscle groups, and at the same time you might not get feeling like you have as an effective workout. But lately I've actually been trying it out a lot more, like push pull or upper lower, and I really enjoy it because you can train a little bit more frequently that way. And I think what most people don't realize is when you do that type of workout where you do like upper lower splits, if you look at the total volume of sets at the end of the week, you actually end up working more volume at the end of the week, which is directly correlated to strength gains and hypertrophy gains as well. So the upper lower split is actually like a really good effective way, and that's something that I've just put off for so long just because I've been so like kind of focused on like doing things the way I've always done things, but now I'm a lot more open to doing that.
Yeah, it is crazy how the volume accumulates with an upper body, lower body split, for example. Here in Germany, we're really based on science, and all the good YouTubers, and they all have switched to an upper body, lower body splits, citing the studies that, you know, the ideal frequencies for natural lifters is between 2 to 3, and that you hit that with an upper body, lower body split, and then the volume you accumulate because your performance decreases drastically. And when you train upper body 3 times per week, always start with bench press, and you're so strong at the beginning, and overall the volume, because studies show volume is the most important factor for building muscles, after a week you have tons more of weight stamped than if you, for example, just do this pro split where you only do chest on one day. Your performance just drastically decreases, and you move so little weight because, for example, the chest is a quite small muscle. And, you know, it's so fatigued at the end, you're basically just moving glycogen. And since I switched to an upper body, lower body split, I think over 2 years ago, that's where I make the most gains. And I got so much stronger. And because, first of all, you're getting so much better because you're actually practicing the exercise so much more often. You're squatting 3 times per week. And you're not like, oh, first I have to, get familiar with. No, you're in it. You go hard. And you get so much volume in. And what I love about the upper body trainings is just that you train antagonistically, like push, pull. And for example, the push-pull leg split I did before, but after a couple push exercises, you know, I'm so fatigued, I need to rest long, and my triceps is so pumped up. But when I do it antagonistically, like push, pull, I kind of like always fresh, and the pump just gets insane. I love it. So I never want to go back to push-pull legs. I did it before. It's also great. But for me, it's just my trainings are more intense, and I love it. So,
On that note, I think that each training style has their own specific purpose. You know, like for somebody starting off, I would definitely recommend either a push-pull leg split or an upper body, lower body split. I don't feel like it's necessary to go straight into an isolation style 5-day split. For that reason of exactly what you just said, you can get stronger quicker and build more mass quicker with more frequent training and with the more heavier compound lifts, which that's what you do with upper body, lower body splits. However, if you've already accumulated enough mass and you're happy with it and you want to focus more on like hypertrophy and building muscles in the right areas for more bodybuilding style, maybe leaning down for shows, then I do believe in like the 5-day split where the 5-day bro split is what I call it. So I feel like each training style has their purpose, and if you integrate them all into, a well thought out training program, then over the course of the year, you're constantly gaining, you're not plateauing, and that's what it's all about. You don't want to be that guy that goes to the gym and does the same 3 sets of 10 every single day with the same exercises year after year, and then wondering why you're not getting anywhere.
I agree, definitely. Yeah, if you don't make progression, then analyze yourselves. What can I change? What factor could be improved? And a big factor is also, of course, motivation. Like if upper body, lower body split just is not fun for you, then don't do it, because motivation is so important, because that you have to thrive and actually keep pushing, and those last reps make them count. That is what makes you grow. And if you're just not motivated by the best plan, that could, just do what motivates you. If you like a pro split, if you like push-pull legs, what is motivating for you to do, and you actually thrive for it and give it your all, that is a really important factor as well.
Yeah, definitely. Motivation has a huge factor in it. And like you just mentioned, if you don't like it, then chances are you're not going to be motivated to do it. Whatever that motivation is for you, you have to keep that in mind whenever you go into the gym. Like, you have to go in there with a mission, like you're going in there to accomplish a job, and that is to push yourself to the limits. It's going to be whether to break yourself down to the point of failure. That's what you should keep in mind every time you go to the gym. Too many times I see guys that just go in there and they walk around, they bullshit, they talk on their phone or they text, they talk to the other guys in the gym, and they're not really there to work out. They might have been there for 2 hours, but realistically, if you count the time under tension that they did in the gym, it might be 3 minutes, so you have to, as opposed to somebody who's going in there for only 30 minutes, but he's having a really effective workout because he's actually pushing himself to the point of failure or close to it, and he has a much more effective workout with a quarter of the time.
Yes.
So you have to keep that in mind every time you go to the gym.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next follow-up question is, I have a question for him. Garth Davis in the book Proteinaholic suggests that too much protein can cause aging and shorten longevity. Does Nimai think his pursuit of bodybuilding means he trades longevity for aesthetics?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked quite a bit, actually. I think that most of the studies that relate longevity to protein consumption are primarily they indicate that animal-based protein is definitely more harmful in regards to longevity than plant-based protein. So luckily for me, a majority of my life I've been only consuming plant-based proteins, and I'm going to continue to do that for the rest of my life. So even though you can't necessarily worry about every single little thing, like, oh, if I eat too much protein, I'm going to age quicker, then I'm going to die quicker. Like, everything in moderation, you know what I mean? Like, this is just a time in my life where I am, doing what I'm doing. I'm a professional bodybuilder. Obviously, that requires me pushing myself in the gym, ingesting more protein. But at least you can control the type of proteins that you're ingesting. And the science shows and it backs that plant-based proteins don't have the same effect on your body as animal-based proteins. So, and on top of that, I don't consume as much protein as your typical bodybuilder. So I weigh like 180 grams. I might get, 0.9. My normal is 0.9 grams times my lean body mass. So I'm about like 150 grams of protein per day, which is far less than your typical bodybuilder. It's more about being efficient with your protein rather than like over consuming it. And as long as you're mindful of that, then I'm not worried about, over consuming on protein and decreasing my lifespan.
Definitely. And I think all the research I've looked into for longevity, I've no doubt you will live even longer because of that. First of all, you don't consume animal protein, which is the number one cause, plant protein. There is no bad effect on it. What I have seen, there is not. It doesn't put stress on your kidneys, etc. It's just if you eat too much plant protein, it's just unnecessary because you would miss out on getting essential nutrients which you might miss. But as you just said, you don't go crazy on protein, you go quite moderate. So you get all the other nutrients in you need, and all the training you do, you just have healthy, strong bones, which will be strong during old age because you keep moving, you keep training. So I think you will be even, it improves your longevity because like the blue zones, they're not doing bodybuilding, but they are just staying active. And that's what you do. You just have an excess amount of muscles. But I never seen a study where this is harmful, that having more muscles, it's just, studies show over and over again that if you move regularly, your bone structure gets stronger and everything. So I don't see there any downside, only upside. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's only upside too. And like I don't know if there's a study out there that has studied plant protein consumption over the course of like a lifetime, or I don't know if there's a specific study that addresses that and longevity. But like you said, I mean, the benefits you get from strictly eating plant proteins as opposed to animal proteins, I'm sure it far outweighs the consumption of protein because you are getting the extra vitamins, the extra nutrients, and all the other health promoting substances that come in those forms of plant proteins. So like I said, I'm not worried about it.
And you're mostly getting your protein from whole foods anyway, so that is the great package because it has everything what you need and what you need for longevity. So leading on to this question, what are Nimai's daily macros? And first of all, I love it that you said that you calculate your protein according to your lean body mass. I do the same because I only want to feed my muscles, I don't want to feed my fat with protein. So I calculate my lean muscle mass, which is quite simple. You just need to know your body fat percentage, your height, and your weight. And then you can calculate it. And yeah, what is your macros, your daily macros?
So this is another question I get almost daily. And it's frustrating because I think people look at me and they say like, oh, if I just follow his macro plan, I'll look like him. And it's not the case at all. There's so many factors that go into that. And I determine my macros based off where I am today, where I want to be in a certain amount of time. Normally, I'm either like bulking when I'm not training for a show, or I'm shredding down for a show. So your macros are very dependent on that. So for me, there are several like bases that I cover. Like you mentioned just now, calculating your protein. That's what I do first based off of my goal. And normally if you're in a deficit, which means that most likely I'm cutting for a show, I'll calculate my lean body mass, which the way you just described it. Your total body mass minus your fat percentage is going to give you your lean body mass. And then I will do about 0.9 times that. I forget the exact study, and what it shows is like kind of like the upper limit for protein and maintaining muscle mass in a deficit. I think it's like 0.82 to 1 gram, somewhere around there. I normally hover about 0.9, and I will track that throughout my prep just to make sure that like I'll use like in-body scans. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's basically like a scale where it measures like fat percentage, water weight, lean muscle mass, all of these things. So you can track it the closer you get to a show and make sure that you're not burning off muscle and you're more inclined to burn off fat when you're in a deficit. So that's when kind of your macro. No, it's called an in-body, INN body. It's like it's an impedance measurement. So it'll measure your basically like the electrical resistance or conductivity in your body based off of like how conductive your muscles are versus how much water you have in your system.
And how?
So and it'll give you an accurate reading of how many pounds of lean muscle mass you have, how many pounds of fat you have, how many pounds of bone you have. So it's like almost the next closest thing to like a DEXA scan, but it is measured on electrical resistance. So there is some like variation there based off like how conductive you are that day, basically how much water you have, how many electrolytes you have in your system. But I use them. They have one at my gym that I use occasionally. But I'm getting off topic. So essentially, calculate your protein first, based off your goal. For me, like I said, I'll do 0.9 times my lean body mass, And then I will always allow about 50% of my calories from carbs, and then the remainder to fats. Normally it's about 20-25% from fats. And that's about it when I'm doing shredding, when I'm cutting down for shows. If I'm bulking up, then I'll actually not even track my protein at all, because I know I'm going to get more than what I need just by naturally eating a lot more calories and the way that I eat. So I'll probably get about the same amount of protein, 150 to anywhere from 150 to 200 grams of protein per day. And then the same kind of ratio, I'll probably up my ratio of carbs to about 60% of my calories from carbs, from whole food carbs, and the remainder from fats. So basically when I bulk up, I just add more carbs and avocados and peanut butter and nuts to my diet. And that's been effective for me to build muscle.
And probably before you calculate your protein, you calculate how many calories you have, right? You aim for.
Yeah, when I'm bulking, I don't necessarily track my calories as strictly as when I'm cutting, because like when you're cutting down and at my level, you're getting on stage next to somebody that they're judging you by the most minuscule difference between one another. You have to be conscious of every single detail whenever you're dieting too, because that's the only way that you're going to get as lean as the guy next to you. Is you have to track everything, you have to monitor every single thing you do, and that's the only way to get that lean. And that's why a lot of people don't understand like how somebody could get that lean and the work it takes. But it's a lot of work. But when you're bulking, it's a lot more relaxed because you can just naturally eat the same foods that I normally eat, just in higher quantities, and I'm more worried about just overall total number of calories rather than a macro ratio, because I know I'm going to get more protein than I need, and I'm just going to eat more carbs and fats in the meantime. Mm-hmm. So for me, a bulking calorie range would be, I don't know, somewhere around 3,500. I don't like to go overboard in a surplus when I do bulking. Like normally I only do about 300 to 500 calories extra per day.
Yeah.
And just I'll change up my training style to account for the extra calories and include more compound lifts. I'll go heavier. I'll decrease my rep range. I'll increase my rest time. That way I can lift more volume. So it's just about making those little changes. It's not like this crazy, scientific formula that you have to do. It's more about just being consistent in certain things and understanding the basic principles of nutrition and training.
Yes. Most importantly, finding out your maintenance calories, how much you burn. And then if you want to gain weight, you need to be in a surplus. If you want to lose weight, you need to be in a deficit. That is like king. That is the most important thing. And then, as you said, if you want to diet down, focus more that you get enough protein if you do weightlifting. And as you said, I always recommend lean bulking, that you don't do dirty bulks, because you just gain excess amount of body fat. You don't gain more muscles, and you have to diet it down eventually, and then you probably lose even more muscles. So lean bulking, you get all the benefits without excess amounts of fat, which I think no one wants. So just as you said, a couple hundred calories in a surplus is all you need. And if you go 1,000 calories in a surplus, there is not a deficit, only downside that your testosterone level is even lower, you feel more bloated, etc. So I always recommend lean bulking, and you just feel great during your bulk. You don't feel like, oh, I get so puffy, and
exactly right. Because I hate feeling like too bulky, you know what I mean? And it's like there's no reason to, like, people think they have like, they can go wide open and just eat whatever they want when they're bulking and just blame it on the fact that they're bulking, or just use that excuse. But the reality is, like, eating whatever you want is not going to help you reach your goal quicker. Like, yeah, you can gain more weight, but how much of that is fat? So, like I said, you only need a couple hundred extra more calories. I say 300 as a minimum, but maintain it between 300 to 500 extra calories, and just monitor it. That's another thing that people forget to do, is monitor their gains or their progress. And that's how things get out of control, is if, like, if you're eating 500 extra calories and you're working out, but when you monitor your fat percentage, you're gaining way more fat than you are muscle, then, chances are you might need to take it back and only do a couple hundred extra calories, because your body is just responding that way. Like, everybody's response is different based off of a lot of different factors. So what works for me might not work for you and might not work for the person next to you. So it's always about finding out how your body works. And that's why I'm so kind of like frustrated when people ask me what my calories are, what my macros are. It's like, dude, it's so dependent on so many factors that like you're asking the wrong question. Like, just understand the basic principles. Like you said, energy in versus energy out. That's the most basic principle when it comes to bulking or cutting. And then everything underneath that that follows is kind of more fine tuning that you have to figure out for yourself.
And many people forget about training. They think like, oh, I just go to the gym. There's not more to it. And if I don't gain muscles, I need to eat more. No, training is so important that you train right. And many people think like, oh, yeah, just eat more protein. But no, you don't gain muscles by just eat more protein. It's like your bones. You don't get stronger bones if you eat more calcium. It's use them or lose them. You need to use your muscles right. You need to train right. And you need to educate yourself about training, about how to make progression, volume, intensity, frequency, learn about that and train properly. That is so important. And that is what I think the most, that people just don't know how to train and are clueless and think like, oh, it's macros, there's the secret here. You need your nutrients, you need your protein, but training is so important that you train right, because I remember myself when I didn't know what I was doing. I was just in the gym, looking left and right, imitating people, and I was in a surplus, but I gained no amounts of muscle. I just got skinny fat. But then I educated myself about training, and that's when it happened where I got stronger, because I started to do compound movements, which I've never, done before. And that's why training is so important. And many people think like, oh, there's a secret in the macro. So I'm glad you touched on that.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, what you're saying is completely accurate, but I feel like a majority of the results just come from basic principles. It's like the 80-20 rule, like if you just figure out the basic things that give you the most results, just stick to those. You know what I mean? If you eat in a surplus, like a moderate surplus, and you go to the gym and you train more compound movements, you progressively increase the weight over a given period of time, then naturally you're going to get more strong and you're going to build more mass. Same thing when it comes to, trying to lose fat, just put yourself in a little bit of a deficit and then increase the volume to where you burn more calories and you're going to burn more fat while maintaining your mass. Like, it's just very basic principles. I feel like people overcomplicate things so much, and worry about, oh, I went over my carb calories by 5 grams. Like, they focus so much effort on things that don't really make that much of a difference. It's just the basic principles that'll give you the best results, and just being consistent. Make sure you're getting your sleep, make sure you're going to the gym every day, and make sure you're hitting your nutritional program by about like 90% every day, and you're going to see progress. But the reality is that people, they fail on one of those aspects, and that's where like it'll affect your progress and how quickly you get to your goal. Alcohol is another big one that people seem to forget about. It's like, oh yeah, you can go to the gym every day, you can eat right, 5 days out of the week, and then get shit-faced the last 2 days of the week and completely, undo all the progress you did during the week. Mm-hmm. So it's just like taking a step back and looking at the bigger picture.
100%. I couldn't agree more on that. And next question is about, what do you prefer to listen during the gym? Listen to music or podcast, audiobook, etc., or nothing at all?
Definitely music for me. I feel like music can get me in the zone and really help me just kind of drown out all the distractions. If I'm doing cardio, then I like listening to podcasts. I listen to podcasts while I do work on my phone, when I'm on like the stair stepper. Like when I do cardio, I normally do it for like 30 to 40 minutes, and I'll just listen to a podcast on like 1.5 times the speed. So I'll like digest it a little bit quicker, and then I'll listen, or I'll do my work on either answering emails or creating content for Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And, but if I'm working out hard, I like definitely listen to music, primarily music with no words. I like more like electronic music that's just more rhythmic and just kind of, I don't know, it just keeps me on pace. So, but I switch it up. I like rock music too. Like System of a Down is like one of my favorite bands. Rage Against the Machine. That type of music for me always gets me in the zone.
Nice. Yeah, I mostly listen to music at the beginning for the compound movements to get into the workout, and at the end I often like to switch to podcasts, but I always adjust to the day. Sometimes nothing, sometimes music, sometimes podcasts, and for me it's always important to get into the workout, because sometimes you've gone through your workout and you've never been into your workout, and I always want to reach this point like, now I'm in here and I can listen whatever, and I have this purpose, and often music gets me there, and then I switch or nothing. It always depends. How does he cope with all the judgment in the professional bodybuilding scene?
I don't really, I'm human, right? So obviously things get to me. But over time, I've definitely learned how to not let things affect me as much. My whole upbringing, I was judged for being different. Growing up in the southern part of the United States, and being different, having a different name, having a different diet, having a different religion, all of these things, created a lot of judgment. So I was pretty used to it growing up. I learned how to be comfortable with myself at a very young age, and just knew and accepted that I was a little bit different, and that was okay. It didn't make me a worse person for it, and it didn't make them a worse person for judging me. It's just something that they don't understand. So same thing when it comes to bodybuilding. Even within the bodybuilding community, you're always going to get judged on everything you do. Being a social media influencer where you have, a couple 100,000 eyes on you, every single thing you do gets judged and everybody has their opinion. And what I've learned is that you're never going to please everyone. Like, you're never going to do it. So there's no point in trying. Like, the only person you should be worried about pleasing is yourself. And I mean that in the sense that do things that are authentic to yourself, and do things that you're aligned with, regardless of what other people think. If it makes you happy and you believe it to be the right thing, then go for it and do it. And people are going to always judge you. But you can't live your life trying to please everybody, because it's just going to drive you crazy, and it's going to detract from your authenticity. So a few years back, whenever I decided to even put myself out there on social media, I made that decision. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get judged. People are not going to understand who I am, and I'm okay with that. But hopefully by being more authentic and putting myself out there, I'll attract the people that do resonate with me and believe in similar things that I do, and stand up for the same things that I stand up for. And, even though my circle is small, it's about quality rather than quantity. I'd much rather have friends that like me for who I really am than a bunch of friends that like me for who I'm not. You know what I mean? So, that's the best advice I could give somebody.
Yes, really well said. The next question, I don't know if you want to talk about it, because you covered it beautifully in the plant-based news video on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. But someone asked, does Nimai takes or took any steroids ever?
Yeah, this is probably the next biggest question I get asked. The answer is no, and the reality is I've never needed to, and I don't necessarily believe in it, just because for a few reasons. People have set the bar far too low nowadays of what's possible and what's not possible. Like, nowadays, if you are marginally bigger than anybody else, you're on steroids. If you're marginally leaner than anybody else, you're on steroids. Like, there's no clear line of what is natural and what is not natural. And I always ask people, I'm like, okay, at what point is it naturally attainable, and what point is it not naturally attainable?
It's simple. If the guy's bigger, then he's on steroids, and if he's smaller, it's do you even lift? That's the rule.
Yeah, exactly. If he's bigger than you, then he's on roids, or he's taking something. If he's smaller than you, then he's a pussy, right? It's like there's this huge paradigm of what is possible and what isn't possible, and it's sad because the people who believe that it's not possible are the one perpetuating it, because those are the guys that leave comments and say, oh yeah, he's on steroids. And then, the younger guy that reads that comment, they believe it because they see it so much. And the sad part is here's a person that's doing it the right way, doing it the natural way, has put in the work, understands the nutrition, the training, and he automatically gets categorized into somebody that's a cheater or whatever else, and it's frustrating. And that's why I don't even like discuss it much online, because for the same reason I just talked about being judged, it's a battle that I'll never win. Like, no matter what I do, I'll never win. So I don't even waste my time or energy arguing with people. It's like, if you want to think it, then cool, think it. I don't really give a shit. Like, I'm just going to keep doing me and keep focusing on myself and let you focus on me if that's what you want to focus on. So my message to those out there that are considering it, I would say don't think twice, just because, you can maximize a lot of other parts of your training and nutritional program before ever having to get to that point. And unless you're like, your livelihood depends on it, then I would never even consider it, because, the damage that you're going to do long term is irreversible. So if you can, it might be harder to achieve where you want to go or where you want to be, but you can do it. It's just about how much work you want to put in. And that's another thing that most people don't realize, is that, like, they've never tried. They've never tried to put in the work. Or if they have, they've quit and given up. And that's why they're like, oh, yeah, it's impossible. But in reality, it's impossible for that person because they give up. But there's other people out there that have different work ethics than you do. You know what I mean? So it's like, it might be impossible for you, but it doesn't mean it's impossible for other people. But unfortunately, those are the people that are the loudest and will always point the finger at other people, or point the finger at anybody that's doing somewhat better than they are, and try to bring them down or throw stones at them. So, like I said, it doesn't even affect me anymore. Like, I'm so used to it nowadays. I don't really give a shit what anybody thinks. I'm just going to keep doing me.
That's good. And I full heart believe you that you're natural. It's, on pictures, you judging by pictures is, first of all, the dumbest things. There are pictures where I look crazy. I don't even want to post because I'm not that muscular, but on pictures you often look crazy. And it's just, people even accuse me often to take steroids. And on the one side, I take it as a compliment, like, wow, you think this physique, you think they take steroids. But on the other side, as you said, I think it's really sad that people set those limits that low that they think for this, I gain 20 kilograms of muscle mass. To achieve that, you need to take steroids. I think that's so sad that they have such low expectations. And I know, I follow a couple of guys for such a long time, for example, which you also know, Misha Yanets. And I followed him for over 6 years before either of us were vegan. And I saw how he got more educated and how he transformed his body over the years. And he did so many tests and everything, and I full heart believe that he's natural as well. And he's a huge guy. But how sad would it be if there wouldn't be a nice physique achievable if you put in the work, if you do all the factors right? It would be so sad. And I truly have the limits high, and I see it on myself, how I continuously gain muscles, how crazy I look on a pump. I feel like, wow, and it's just sad that so many people have such low expectation and take this excuse like, oh, I'm not big, and oh, they're on steroids, and just, it's really sad. And I think it's so hard to deal with so much hate of people who just, because it discredits you so much, because you put in such hard work. And I mean, most guys who even take steroids, they don't look even nearly as good as you do. So even if you look great, but they just completely discredit you. And I think, but I'm glad that you can handle it that well, and that you have such a strong skin. And yeah, so
yeah, I mean, you have to. I mean, like you just said, even guys who are on it and take it, that's another reason why they'll accuse other people of doing it, is because they're doing it and they're still not seeing the results that they want. But it's like, it just doesn't make sense for them that anybody else could be in a better shape, or they're seeing quicker results. You know what I mean? But it's like 99% of the time, people just want the quickest thing to get them to where they want to be. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to, track their calories, and they don't want to have to do the cardio. They don't want to have to push themselves in the gym. And that's why they resort to those things, and that's why they rely on not just roids, but like supplements, and like thinking that they have to buy the next super pill that comes out that will get them, 10 times the games in a fraction of the time. It's like, dude, if you just focus on like the basics, just focus on the basics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's going to get you the most results.
But it sucks doing heavy squats and it sucks doing heavy deadlifts. And that's why most people like, oh, I just take steroids. And I think that's the magic pill. But then I don't look like him. Oh, he must be on steroids and even more steroids. And then, always this quick fix. But no, it sucks. It's heavy deadlifts and squats. It's no joke. It's heavy. It takes a lot of effort. You have to be in the zone and everything. And you have to put in the time to learn the proper form. But it's the basics and you just have to do it, and not only once, not only twice, continuously, judging by month, and then put in the time. And yeah, but that's the most, but it's the most exhausting, but the most rewarding as well, because physical exercise just feels great. Afterwards, you're happier, your mood is better, your sleep is better. So just do it, and then you will even crave it because you just know how great it makes you feel. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good that we got the steroids out. Now, next question is, as I said before we started the podcast, because you told me that you woke up at like 5 a.m. and someone asked, what is his morning routine look like?
That's a good one. So my morning routine has obviously changed a lot in the last few months because I quit my corporate job about, 9 months ago, something around there. So before, I would wake up pretty early, about 5 a.m. I would meal prep for the day. I would do a little reading, and then I would go to work and have to be there by 6:30. So now I don't have to be anywhere since I work for myself now. And the routine really, it's somewhat different, but now it's like I wake up, I'm stress-free, knowing that I don't have to like clock in at a certain time. I'll always have my morning coffee. I love coffee. I'll meal prep. I'll either answer emails or whatever, but I try to do that at least like give myself like 30 minutes to an hour of like no technology. You know what I mean? Just like wake up and just kind of like just breathe and like practice gratitude. I'm not the best at yoga. I do a little stretching in the morning too, because I really feel like, breathing into your body in the morning is very important. If you just wake up and start the day with intention, that's another thing that I try to tell people as well and practice myself, is that wake up with the intention of doing something, whether it just like it could just be something super small. Just like wake up with the intention of like giving 4 compliments, just like set the bar really low for yourself, and just like, I don't know, it was something like about the first like 30 minutes to an hour in the morning. To me, it's the most special time of the day because it sets the mood for the rest of the day. So if you can get yourself in the right mindset, then kind of nothing can penetrate that kind of energy force field for the rest of the day. So I'm always mindful about how I spend the first hour of my day, whether that be reading, stretching, or just practicing anything positive, because I feel like it trickles on throughout the rest of the day.
Nice. That's beautiful. Getting in tune, getting in touch with your body, because we're no machines. We feel different every day. And it's so important to see how do I feel this day, analyze, why do I feel tired, and then, just get in tune, accept it, and start with, how you start the day, it sets the tone. And yeah, that's a beautiful morning routine. And
yeah, definitely. I think, let me just chime in one more time. I think that finding a place of solitude in the morning is very important too, because I feel like it's the only time that we can really take advantage of the peacefulness of the world. When it's like right there before the sun rises, I feel like there's a very special time of the day where you can just find somewhere quiet and just do a little bit of self-reflection. Doesn't have to be long, just anything works. I mean, just find what works best for you, like 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you find works best for you. It actually does a lot of healing for the soul and the mind, just because so many times we're just so active and we're just so go, 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 and we don't ever stop and sit and quiet and just pump the brakes and reflect. But I think that a lot of people could use that time to really look inside themselves and maybe solve some inner conflict and see things a little bit more clearly.
Amen. And yeah, beautifully said. When do you wake up? Always at 5 or?
Normally between 5:30 and 6, yeah. It's 5 and 6 o'clock.
And when do you go to bed?
It depends. Normally, I mean, probably like around like 10, 11 o'clock.
Okay, nice. Yeah. And when do you usually go to the gym?
Normally, if I'm prepping, then I try to split up my cardio for my training session. So I'll try to go to the gym like early in the morning. Like normally first thing in the morning is pretty easy for me. So I'll be at the gym by like 6:30 and just knock out like maybe 30, 40 minutes of cardio. Like I said, that's like mainly stair stepper, and I'll just like listen to podcasts or whatever and just do my Instagram work. But then I'll come back normally around like 3 o'clock, 3 to 6 o'clock. My schedule is pretty flexible, and just knock out my actual like resistance training between that time, because I feel like that's the time of day where like I feel the most energetic and I can get the best workouts in. I normally like to have like food in me. Like I that's why I don't train like so early in the morning, like resistance train. Like I can go and do cardio, but if I were to go and try and do like, weight training early in the morning with no food, I don't like it. I don't like the feeling.
Yeah, me too. I did intermittent fasting for 2 years and went to the gym on an empty stomach. And for like 3 months ago, I switched it up. That I had a pre-workout meal, my breakfast, and after 2 hours, around noon, I went to the gym, and I just was stronger at my compound movements. So I stick to it for now. So I like it as well. It's totally individual. Many of my friends, they just love it early in the morning and are strong. But I myself, I love, I also switch it on how it fits into my schedule. But on average, I love to have a post-workout meal. And I don't know, with food in my body, I want to move more. And, when you're this fasting, when your body slows a bit more down, that is what I experienced. And for cardio and stuff is great. But for heavy deadlifts and bench press, I just feel like often, not always, but often if I have a breakfast, I'm a bit stronger and I need less stimulants than when I go on an empty stomach, but it's totally individual. And the next question is his pre and post workout meal, but I would like to change this question to, could you guide us through a typical day of a full day of eating? Like for you right now, what do you eat? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks?
Yeah, definitely. So it's important to realize that like I eat pretty much the same thing, whether I'm bulking or shredding. I just manage the portion sizes a little bit more tightly. So I'll just keep that in mind. So normally I'll wake up and my first meal of the day is my favorite meal of the day. It's like my morning smoothie. So I will add quite a bit of ingredients to the smoothie. It'll be normally banana, almond milk, either peanut butter or powdered peanut butter, depends on what my goal is. Sometimes even oatmeal. I'll do ground flaxseed, a scoop of protein, maybe some greens, normally spinach, and I'll just blend it all up. No, sometimes I'll do berries and other things like that. But it's always like a pretty hearty smoothie that's like maybe, I don't know, 500 to 600 calories, somewhere around there. And that lasts me pretty much from the morning until about mid-morning or lunchtime. And for lunch, normally
when do you usually drink your smoothie? Around which time?
Probably about like, I don't know, anywhere between like 8 to 9 o'clock. Because I'm like, if I wake up and have like coffee, it kind of suppresses my hunger a little bit. So I don't feel like I need to eat right like first thing in the morning. Before, whenever I was going to like my engineering job, I would have to eat before I went to work, just because I had like meetings like back to back to back, so I didn't have time. So I'd like drink my morning smoothie at like 6:30. But now I pushed it back to like 8 or 9 o'clock with a cup of coffee beforehand. And then probably my next meal would be like 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. And it's just like a very big, I have these like very big salad bowls that I just throw everything into it. Like
Mm-hmm.
normally I'll do like either a base, like the base will either be shredded cabbage, like I'll do like 10 ounces of shredded cabbage per salad. Like this is a lot of food. Or it'll be a base of rice, depending on like my goal. I'll normally do beans, either black beans or chickpeas. I'll add tofu or tempeh. I used to do a lot of mock meats, but now I just kind of stick to tofu and tempeh. I don't know. I think my palate's changed a little bit. I really like those now. I'll do avocado. I'll do grilled vegetables. And when I say grilled vegetables, it can range from it's a wide variety of vegetables. And normally I love mushrooms. I love peppers. I love onions. I love broccoli. I love cauliflower. I love carrots. I love all these things. So I'll either steam them or grill them, and I'll put them in the salad bowl. And I'll put avocado always. I love avocado as well. And I just make like a huge salad. Like you see what I post a lot on my food page. And I call them salad bowls, but I mean, really, it's just like a huge bowl of a bunch of food. It's not necessarily a salad. I call it like a Buddha bowl, essentially.
Yeah. I make the same. I call it the V-Gains bowl, but it's the same.
There you go.
And
it's the same thing.
Your channel is called that people find the food channel. It's called Vegan Food Bodybuilding. Is that the page?
Close. Vegan Bodybuilding Food.
Oh yeah, Vegan Bodybuilding Food. It's great. And this is usually after your training, right?
This is before my training. This would be like meal one essentially.
Okay.
But it's a big meal, and that'll last me till about 2 o'clock.
And when do you usually eat it?
I normally eat that meal between normally around 11 o'clock.
Okay.
And for a snack, I normally always will either have avocado toast or avocado and rice cakes. It's like basically avocado toast, but on rice cakes, like plain rice cakes.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll do.
I do it on corn cakes.
Oh yeah, corn cakes. Yeah, same. Like very good.
Yeah.
I'll either do like a peanut butter and fruit.
Mm-hmm.
So on like a rice cake too. That's just like a really simple, quick snack for me. And depending on whether I'm like maintaining or bulking or shredding, I'll either use like a real nut butter, like almond butter or sunflower seed butter, or I'll do like the powdered peanut butter and mix it up into like a much lower calorie, lower fat content spread, and then add like fresh strawberries and blueberries, and that'll be like a really good like low calorie snack for me.
Because I don't like to mix it up with just water.
You can use either almond milk or water.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you just get like the powdered peanut butter and put a little bit of like almond milk or water, it'll give you a little bit more thickness if you use almond milk, and it makes like a really creamy peanut buttery spread. But it's only like 50 calories for 2 tablespoons,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to like 200 calories for 2 tablespoons. And it's like very little fat content. It's got like maybe 10% of the fat content. And it's like it's a really good like macro friendly snack, so that's why I normally use it. But I love my regular peanut butter or almond butter too. So when I'm not like worried about calories, I'll just add like real peanut butter or sunflower seed butter. Sunflower seed butter is actually my favorite of all the nut butters.
I hope they get less pricey over the time, because that's why I stick to peanut butter, because it's just in Germany by far the cheapest one. And like the one you just mentioned, what did you say? Pumpkin?
No, sunflower.
Sunflower. I never seen that before. But I think it would be pricey here in Germany. But keep on going.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's available everywhere, but it's a good alternative for those who have like nut allergies as well, because I think that sunflower seeds are not part of like the allergenic nut family. But don't quote me on that.
Or tahini. Tahini is also, and that is easily available everywhere, basically.
Oh, yeah, I'll actually add a lot of tahini to my salads as well, or my big bowls. That's normally like my dressing of choice. But if I'm not using like an oil-based dressing or like a fatty dressing, I'll normally mix up nutritional yeast and liquid aminos, and add either that'll kind of be like a cheesy salad dressing. Or I'll do like salsa, just like fresh salsa. Like that's pretty much all I need. for like to make it a little bit less dry and more of like a dressing style. Um, but yeah, I just keep it pretty simple, and I'll eat like 2 to 3 of those bowls per day.
So
Um,
that was your lunch, like
yeah,
around 11, and then
that's pretty much my lunch
and dinner.
and dinner. Yeah, I'll
And
have like 2 lunch meals. So I'll have like a pre-workout meal for me would normally be like a banana. I try to limit my fat consumption before and after my workouts, like immediately before and immediately after. I try to just stick to carbs and protein. And then after my workout, I'll normally do like a post-workout shake, which will be a lot of fruit and a scoop of protein powder. And then I'll have like another one of those big bowls at night, and then some more snacks for me. I'm big on like granola and cereal as well, so I really have to like be cautious of how much I keep in my house, because I can go through like a whole bag of cereal or granola like really quickly and go like way over calories. But
yeah,
I
they
try
add
to be.
up so quickly.
I know, and they trick you too, because it's like they measure it in 3/4 of a cup. So normally, who the hell measures anything in 3/4 of a cup? Like I always do like a full cup. So it's like you go over
Yeah.
your calories really quickly.
In Germany, we don't measure with cups, so we don't have that on the label. But I've been to the United States many times, and they always, this promotion on the label. It's always not per 100 gram, and they try to, yeah, you have to be cautious what you're buying. Don't be tricked by, oh, this many grams of this and that and 0 calorie. And no, you have to look 100 gram, what is in there. And most importantly, what are the ingredients? What are you actually eating? And if it starts with oil, sugar, syrup, then it's, yeah, mostly not good.
Yeah, exactly.
But you can find in the US, you can find even clean granola. So you have such a big variety. And that's what is the thing I'm the most jealous about, your Whole Foods, your Trader Joe's. You have such a great variety. Here in Germany, we don't have that. But we have the
Yeah,
Whole Foods, and that's great. That's what I eat mostly, and I recommend. And that's great. You find Whole Foods everywhere.
yeah, and we really are blessed and lucky to have those types of stores available to us. But that's why accounts like yours are so great, because you teach people how to make those ingredients or those meals that you find at like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and all that stuff, and make it easy for people to make at home, which a lot of people don't realize how simple it is to create some really delicious recipes at home. So you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. It just takes a little bit of effort and a
Yeah.
little bit of knowledge, and you can have like a really nutritional whole food plant-based meal plan that'll help you build muscle or shred down really
Yeah.
easily.
And cheaper and healthier mostly, because you can make oil-free hummus, and you know what is in there, and you can leave out the salt, too much salt, the oils, and yeah, it's super simple, so much stuff. And yeah, a couple more questions about the full day of eating. Do you make this bowl you described? Do you make a big bowl and divide it into 2 portions for dinner, or do you usually make a new bowl for dinner from scratch?
Oh no, I make it from scratch.
Okay.
You know what? I didn't realize how much raw food I ate until recently. I eat quite a bit of raw food, so like I will literally just have everything like chopped up in my fridge, like tomatoes, cucumbers, mushrooms. Like I will just like grab them and just like throw them in the bowl, and it takes me 10 minutes to make, but I'll cook like the tofu or like the tempeh and have it all sliced up before, so I can just like easily grab a few chunks of it and measure it out to be like 4 ounces, and I know exactly how much protein I'm getting per bowl.
That's nice. Yeah, when you do it
Yeah,
like that, it's so convenient, and making a bowl goes so quickly. And if you have all the staples conveniently, you can prepare those meals super quickly, and no excuse to not make them. That's great.
yeah, exactly. Or if you have like if you're on the go and you have everything kind of like already pre-cooked and separated in your fridge, it makes it really easy to put it into meal prep containers and take with you. So that's kind of like another really big tip that I could tell people, is just like cook in bulk. So cook your rice in bulk, cook your sweet potatoes in bulk, cook your tofu in bulk, cook your veggies in bulk. Or if you don't even need to cook some veggies, just like have them available, and you can just easily throw them into a container and take with you.
Yeah. And even though I don't meal prep, I always cook my legumes and whole grains in bulk, because they take a while, some of them like 20 minutes, but if you make a kilogram, it lasts for a week or even longer. You can freeze it and you always have it handy, and it doesn't take more time cooking them once in bulk. So that's a game changer for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, someone asked why he started with bodybuilding and what are his plans for the future.
So funny story. Whenever I first started, I first started going to the gym when I was like, I don't know, 16 or 17. It was like the first time I ever stepped foot in the gym, and I really liked it, but I never really took it seriously. Like I would just go here and there, and towards the end of high school, I got a little bit more interested in it, but still only went to the gym like maybe once or twice a week. Then when I got into college, I started lifting a little bit more frequently, but still had no idea what the hell I was doing. It wasn't until my last year of college when I was like, 23, that I started, like, I became friends with like personal trainers, and they taught me a lot about training technique and different types of forms, different types of exercises. So that's when I really started getting into lifting, was when I was 23. And right after that, immediately after that, I moved to California. And there was the part of California to where I moved, wasn't much to do at all. Like, it was kind of like really agricultural. There's a lot of farmland. There wasn't much to do in the town. So I just started going to the gym more. And I got a little bit more involved in the gym because at this point I was like, before I was in college, I was doing a lot of activities with friends and, social activities. And then I moved to this new town. I didn't really have any friends. I was working this, 6:30 to 4 p.m. job every single day. And when I got off work, I would either, I had the choice. I could sit at home and just watch TV, or I could go do something a little bit more productive. So I just started going to the gym more, and I made some friends in the gym and got a little bit more involved, a little bit more interested, a little bit more focused. And so I would say about 23 is when I really started my bodybuilding career, because that's when I really started following any kind of regimen, any kind of plan, nutritional plan. And that's what led me to become vegan as well, is because I started digging more into nutrition and found out the importance of nutrition.
Nice.
But as far as like bodybuilding competitively, that just happened on a chance. Like, I was going to a gym, and a friend of mine just happened to suggest it to me. He was like, "Hey, you're looking really good. You should consider doing a show." And I just kind of laughed. I was like, "Yeah, right, dude. Like, I'm not going to get on stage and like flex in front of people. Like, that's just stupid." like only meatheads do that. And, the more I sat and thought about it, I was like, you know what, why not? Like, it's something different. Like, it'll be a fun, challenging goal, and who knows what can happen. And right at that same time is when I actually went vegan. So I had no idea, like, the challenge I had ahead of me of like going vegan and then deciding to do my first bodybuilding contest at the same time. So it was a bit of a learning curve for me, but I think that's why I figured it out so quickly, because my first show, I ended up, I ended up winning the entire thing.
Oh,
and
wow.
then the second show I did, I won the entire thing.
Wow.
And then like it just kind of snowballed from there. But at the same time, I started sharing my journey and saw how many people were interested in the way I was doing it.
So how old were you doing your first show?
Let's see. I was 24, I think.
24, so only 1 year of proper training, kind of?
Or no, I think I was 25.
Okay, 2
25.
years. Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. And then because you won 2 shows, you realized, wow, I could actually be good at this and pursue this and help people, because no one really is doing it vegan on this level, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the first one I did was a challenge to myself, and I was like, I just want to see how I stack up and how it goes. And after you win anything, you get, more excited and you get more passionate about it. You want to get better at it. So that first show really struck a chord with me and like inspired me to go further. And that's when I decided to compete in like a bigger organization, against much bigger competition. And I was like, well, let's see if I can hold my own against these guys. And I did the next show and I ended up winning that one too. And that's when I really thought to myself, I was like, maybe I can take this somewhere. And like, people are so uneducated about the fact that you can build muscle as a vegan, you can even be alive as a vegan, that I'll just start sharing my journey online. And then it really did just snowball from there. And I never had any intention of being where I am today, but that's just the power of social media. And like, it just shows how many people were interested in the vegan lifestyle and just learning about a different approach than what most people were doing it. And, yeah, that was just kind of how I am, or how I got to the place I am today. But for the future, I'm definitely going to compete a few more times. I want to get to the Olympia stage, which is like my ultimate goal since I first started. Since I first had the idea of like, I'm gonna do this. And I don't know if I'll make it this year, just because of my schedule is so crazy, and it's really hard to select a show and then try to launch businesses and travel and do everything else I'm trying to do. So I might have to wait until next year to make it to the Olympia stage. But after that, I really don't feel like I'll have anything more to prove. And who knows? Who knows what will happen after that? Maybe I can focus on other things other than bodybuilding. But I really started bodybuilding to use it as a platform, and to show people that you can even be as extreme as a bodybuilder, because not everybody wants to be a bodybuilder. But I figured, if I could show people that you can make it this far and be a professional bodybuilder, then what more convincing do you need? Like, what limitations do you think there are? If this guy can do it as a professional vegan bodybuilder who's never had meat, what more convincing do you need? So that was kind of my whole intention with using bodybuilding as a platform. But who knows? Maybe there's another platform out there that I can reach even more people in the future. But until then, I'll just keep focusing on my original goal and just see where life takes me.
Yeah, and that is what I recommend. Don't plan ahead your entire future, because just live in the now and follow your highest excitement, and where it will lead you, you don't know. But if you stay true to yourself, it will be a great direction, and you're on a great path, and I see a bright future for you, and I love what you do, and you will reach more and more people and just be a big part of especially your niche of really showing on this competitive level. I'm a muscular guy, but many people on your level, they would look at me and say, hey, do you even lift? But having you, we need more of you, that on this level, showing people, hey, this is possible. And as you said, if this is possible, then what reason is not to go plant-based if you just want to be healthy and thrive easily, and you can even build muscles, and even a lot of muscles. So that is great. Yeah, stay on your path.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like my whole goal, is just inspire other young guys to just be open to the idea. You know what I mean? You don't have to go plant-based, from one day to the next. But if you can see more and more people doing it, speaking on the subject more, speaking about all the benefits, not only just the health benefits, but the environmental benefits, the ethical benefits of adopting a plant-based lifestyle, then it's going to become more normal for guys to be open to the idea of becoming a vegan, or just trying it out, or maybe just even lowering the consumption of animal products. So it's like the benefits are they're endless, and if I can just inspire one guy, then I feel like I'm doing my job. And maybe like it's always like a snowball effect or a ripple effect. That one guy can go on to inspire another couple 100,000 people, just one person. Like that's my ultimate goal. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and just keep speaking on it. And hopefully one day it'll become mainstream and I won't have to talk about it anymore. But until then, we have a lot of work to do. Yeah. And that's why we need more people just, using their voice and using their platform.
Yes, you and I, we will be in the history book, and one of the great influential people who brought more compassion to this world and made plant-based the new norm. And yeah, we will see. But I'm really grateful for what you do, and you have such a huge impact you cannot imagine, because nowadays so much is judged on the surface, and people, they don't care about the facts and everything. They care about the looks, and you present it and they see it like, wow, this guy looks healthy, super fit, muscular. If he can do it, I can do it. And often it just takes the spark that people go on their own journey. And if they do so, it's a no-brainer, because it's the biggest win-win-win concept I've ever encountered. Better for your health, the environment, and the animals. So there is no downside. So you just need the spark, and your page, and you just, I think you gave a lot of sparks already, and just sparking so many people, and yeah, keep going.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, exactly what you just mentioned with like, unfortunately, that's like a really effective way of spreading a message, is just like
100%.
getting somebody's attention based off how they look. And then, now you got your foot in the door for them to like hear your message. And let's face it, if I was just some fat guy that was like, or just like not fat, but like out of shape, like, like people might not respond as easily.
No.
If I'm out of shape and I'm talking about all the health benefits, then like I'm not walking the walk.
Totally.
I'm just talking. So people wouldn't be as receptive to the idea of being plant-based. But if they see somebody that's in shape and they, I'm doing bodybuilding contests or just showing how easy it is to thrive on a vegan diet, then people are a lot more receptive to the idea. So that's kind of why I think that fitness itself is such a positive platform for spreading this message.
Yes, and that's a big motivation of mine, because I know what an impact it has if you just look healthy, thrive, and that's what I love to get stronger to show them. Hey, be a role model and lead by example. You mentioned that, now you live in LA, close to the Gold's Gym, I assume, because you train there, right?
Yeah, I live like a few minutes away, like 30, 35 minutes, depending on traffic. Everything in LA is depending on traffic.
Okay, so you cannot walk by foot to the Gold's Gym? Not that close?
No, definitely not that close. I'm like 30 miles away from Gold's Gym.
And where did you live when you said when you were 23, when you lived where there was only a farm? Where was that?
Yeah, so that's Bakersfield, California. It's like 2 hours northeast of LA, but it's much more central California. The weather is very different than the coast, and so is like the culture, I guess you could say. Like it's mainly like a farming country. It's farming and oil and gas. Like that's Bakersfield's primary like business.
Mm-hmm. And you moved to LA after you quit your job as an engineer because you wanted to live close to the Gold's Gym, or the vibes, and what was the reason?
So I actually moved to Long Beach, California while I was still engineering. I transferred down to Long Beach because I ended up going to I went to Bali. I'll make a long story short. I went to Bali, and basically I did a lot of self-reflection and just kind of identified how unhappy I was with my current situation. Living in Bakersfield and working this job that I didn't really like. And I just came home from that trip and went straight to my boss's office and told him that I would like to transfer or take time off so I could go apply other places, because I just couldn't live in this town anymore. And I hit my ceiling. Like I needed to grow. I needed to get out. And he was nice enough to set up a transfer for me down to Long Beach. But then I quickly realized that it wasn't the location that was the problem. It was the occupation that was the problem. And I didn't have any sense of fulfillment being an engineer, or the job that I was doing engineering. Engineering is very fulfilling to me, but the current job that I was doing it wasn't making me happy at all, and no amount of money was worth my unhappiness or my time. So that's when I decided to make a decision, and I was going to, I said, fuck it. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to pursue my dream. Like, you only have one life to live. Why not make it the best life and your happiest life, regardless of money, regardless of all these other things that you don't necessarily need. You might think you need, but those things aren't what brings you happiness. True happiness is fulfillment. It's helping others. It's, spending time with your loved ones, building relationships, building quality relationships. Those are the types of things that I wanted to focus on, as opposed to spending a majority of my time doing things I didn't want to do.
And let me guess, it was your best decision ever?
Oh, yeah. I kicked myself in the butt for not making it, a year earlier. But I really believe everything happens for a reason, and I wasn't ready to make that switch at that point in time. But when you know, mm-hmm. And that one day I went to work, I knew that it was going to be my last day, and I had almost like a sense of what's the word? Like almost like a panic attack or like a sense of like claustrophobia where I felt like if I didn't do it now, then I would never do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like on an impulse, like I went straight to my boss's office and like I just shut the door and told him that I was putting in my notice of resignation. And yeah, it was the best decision I ever made. Like I kind of freaked out for a little bit, but then, you know, the universe always finds a way like to reciprocate what you put out there. And ever since I've fully invested myself into, you know, being a vegan advocate, helping people online, inspiring people, being a content creator, the universe has reciprocated and allowed me to, you know, provide for myself and open up new opportunities, new doors that would have never been opened if I would have remained in that other occupation. So yeah, it's the best decision I ever made. And I can definitely tell people out there who might be kind of teetering or, you know, considering making a switch or a career switch, then just I recommend to really thinking about it and identifying what makes you happy in life, because you only get one life. And although it might not be the easiest decision, it's definitely a decision that is worth making, because there's a million other shitty jobs out there that'll gladly hire you. You know, why not take a chance at doing something you want to do instead and living a fulfilling life? So yeah, sorry. That was just
that
like
was
my little
great.
rant.
That was great and really valuable. And I'm so great you did it and show the people how great it turned out, because, you know, people are so afraid of it. But what is the worst thing that could happen? You quit your job, you fail at what you wanted to do, and then you just get a better job which you might like more than before. Like that is the worst thing that could be done. And the best thing is just, you know, that you pursue your dreams and you follow your passions, you live with purpose, and you find a way to make money with that and actually have an impact and live a fulfilled life. So like that, if that is the upside, like I would go for it. And if the downside would be like only that, then why are people so afraid of it? But it's often that culture and what society thinks, and then they classify, oh, he's a failure, and people are so afraid of those stereotypes. But I say, hey, just find what you want. That is the most important thing, because you won't be happy if you quit your job if you then don't do what you love. Find your passion. I always say, follow what excites you. And if you find it, and then there's always a way how you can make a living out of it, because we're living in 2018. You can make money with everything. So find something you're passionate about and pursue it. And then your life just feels great. And you basically don't have to work another day, because you do your work you love to do it. You would do it anyways. So I'm so glad you did. And yeah, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I did too. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing too, and helping people. It's making a huge impact, and I can see the waves that you're creating. And yeah, like I said, it's just like you're one person, you know, whatever inspired you, you know, you're now going on to inspire hundreds of thousands of people. So that's why I always, you know, tell people just like follow your dream. Like you never know what you can do. You never know. Like you're your only limitation. So
yeah,
sometimes you have to push yourself to your limits to know where they are. And a lot of times it's much farther than what you think they are. So you just don't give yourself enough credit.
Yes, well said. Okay, we're already coming close-ish to the end, but I quickly want to talk about supplements. What supplements do you regularly take?
Okay, so supplements are fairly easy. I always recommend 3 supplements that vegans particularly should take, and that's vitamin D3, vitamin B12, and some form of DHA or EPA, whether you eat sea vegetables or you take it from like a seaweed oil or a pill or whatever. Those are the 3 that I really recommend. So that's D3, B12, and DHA or EPA. And that is because let's face it, a vegan diet doesn't necessarily provide the quantity in which you need those foods. Or D3, I mean, normally everybody has a D3 and a B12 deficiency. They could all supplement from it, but vegans in particular should be conscious of that. Outside of those 3, I normally take protein powder. I take BCAAs. I'll take some other multivitamins or vitamins, such as like magnesium, zinc, Those two I really am firm believers in. I also will occasionally take creatine. I haven't taken creatine in quite some time, and that's pretty much just because I haven't, bought it. I'm not saying I don't believe in creatine. I think it's a very well-studied, well-documented supplement that's safe to use and effective at the same time. I think there's a lot of supplements out there that are complete bullshit, and they use exaggerated results from studies to, promote a product that doesn't actually work. You're just taking placebo, or like Dr. Joel Kahn says, just really you're buying expensive urine, so you just piss it out anyway. So that's pretty much it. Other than that,
Yeah. Nice.
I keep it really simple.
Yeah, me too. I agree with all of them. And someone asked, what's your favorite Vivo Life product?
Favorite Vivo Life product is definitely the protein. I like the salted maca caramel flavor, just because I feel like it blends well with mostly everything. It's kind of like a neutral flavor that can be fruity or nutty, or like you can add raw cacao to it, make it more chocolatey. So I feel like it blends well with mostly everything. I love it. Yeah, pretty much even. Like they'll tell you when I order my supplements from them, I normally only get the salted maca.
And do you quickly want to tell my community about your project, veganfitness.com?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. So essentially, veganfitness.com, we plan to make it essentially bodybuilding.com mixed with nutritionfacts.org. So we want it to be a very evidence-based location where people could come and learn about the science behind training and nutrition, and become like a centralized resource for anybody who wants to learn more or optimize their training or nutrition, or learn more about supplementation, or read content or see content from some of the top fitness experts or top medical experts in the field. So we've been lucky enough to partner up with some very influential plant-based medical professionals. More to come on that later, but we have some really big names that have endorsed us and are going to be contributing content, and really quality content as well. So that's the plan for Vegan Fitness. Right now, it's pretty much a members-only website where we're offering training programs and nutritional programs. And we just launched our second challenge, our 8-week challenge, and the first one was a really big success. We saw a ton of really amazing transformations from both vegans and, surprisingly, non-vegans. There was a large percentage of the challenge members were not vegan prior to the challenge. So they came away extremely happy with the results, and extremely happy to learn how to, prepare proper nutritional programs based off of their goals from a vegan perspective. So that's like what we're really focused on. The demographic that we're trying to reach is the non-vegans, because we want to show them how easy it is, and how tasty it is, and how cheap it is, and how quickly you can see your progress. So that's essentially veganfitness.com, and the informational aspect of the website should be launching relatively soon, hopefully within the next month. We're going to have a bunch of articles and video-based content, like I said, from some top plant-based medical professionals to give loads of free information. So I'm really excited about the project, and that's almost the main reason why I quit my job, was to create a platform where I could reach even more people than what I'm reaching on my social media platforms.
That sounds great. And yeah, guys, check it out, veganfitness.com. And as he said, more informations are to come. And just follow Nimai on his Instagram. There he keeps you up to date, I have no doubt. And before we close it down, I have 3 questions, the last questions, which I ask all my guests. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
What scares you?
That's a good one, man. I haven't been asked that question in quite a while. I would say failure. Failure always has scared me growing up. Both my parents were immigrants, and they came to this country with basically no money and just lots of hopes and dreams for their kids. And I was the first American-born in my family. And I feel like I owe them a lot for my opportunities that I've been given in the childhood that I was raised in. And that's why I always wanted to become successful, is so that I kind of fulfilled their dreams that they had for me by, basically uprooting their world to give better opportunities for their children. So failure has always been a big driving factor of mine, to not fail and to be successful at anything I did. And that was one of the main reasons why I decided to be an engineer, was because I knew that it would be a well-paying job, and there would always be success in engineering. But then I realized that success is measured in more things than just money. And so failure is definitely a big one for me.
Nice. Best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received. Let me think about this one. I don't know if anybody has directly said it to me, or maybe they have and I haven't listened, but I would say the best advice that I've ever received would be to just do what makes you happy. I think that so many people do what makes them unhappy for reasons they don't even know. They just kind of fall into a routine, into a pattern, into a state of comfortability, and they just accept it. And they don't realize that they're not stuck, and they don't realize that, the world is at their fingertips, and it's just about making decisions and taking action to do what makes you happy and create a life for yourself that you enjoy. Like I said, I'm very big on, sorry, it's my coffee maker.
All good.
Okay. Yeah, there we go. Like I said, I'm very big on, the fact that you only get one life, or you only, remember this life experience once. So why not make it the best life? Like, why spend it doing things you don't want to do, for things you don't need, to impress people you don't even like?
Yes.
There's so many reasons why you should just focus on what makes you happy, and your life will just kind of unfold before you. So yeah, I would definitely say do what makes you happy.
Really well said. And the last question is, what is the future of veganism?
I think the future of veganism is going to be much more mainstream. I think we're right on the cusp of this explosion of acceptance from the mainstream in regards to veganism. I think so many people now, it's almost becoming like normal for people to say they're vegan in some parts of the world, which is a huge step. Before, it didn't matter where you were. If you said you were vegan, you were considered a weirdo. You considered strange. But now, with so many companies jumping on board and seeing the demand for vegan products, they're providing them. Let's face it, the world runs on capitalism. It runs on making money. So the more demand there is for veganism, the more companies will get on board with it, and then eventually the more policies will be put in place to make certain standards more vegan friendly. So I think it's going to become more mainstream much quicker than we anticipated. I think it just started at the right time. It was progressed by the right people, and I think the hard part is already over, or it's like right about to be over. Within the next couple of years, and then afterwards it's just going to be considered somewhat normal, which is the ultimate goal, because that just normality is going to create such a big difference in so many levels that people are going to be, they can't deny the evidence anymore, and they'll be much more likely to adopt a lifestyle. So yeah, that's the future of veganism. It's going to be normal.
Amen. Go vegan. Well said. Thank you so much for being on my podcast. And guys, definitely follow Nimai on Instagram. There he just keeps you up to date with everything he does. For example, his great brand new podcast, Generation V. And it quickly, I catched up with all the episodes, and it quickly got one of my favorite episodes. I love your podcast style, going deep, great guests, all the stories, like the butcher recently. It's crazy where people come from, and you really dig in there. And just easygoing, listen to it during the gym. Generation V, such a great podcast. So, thank you. Any last words?
No, just thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate you giving me the chance to talk and us getting to know each other. I look forward to working together in the future, man. Thanks for having me on and allowing me to share my story.
And there you have it. What another great episode. And I would love to hear your feedback. Just write me a direct message on Instagram, a YouTube comment, or an email. Or give me a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're in the iOS app, the podcast app, just scroll down 5 stars and write me something. I would love that. Or go to iTunes, V-Gains Podcast, 5 stars. It would help this podcast a lot to be exposed to many more people. So thank you so much if you already did so. Thank you if you will do it. And just thank you for being curious, open-minded, and just listen to this podcast, because I have no doubt you took something out of that, something valuable, and it also was motivating for you to crush it in the gym, not only hard but also smart. So yeah, I just end it here. I love this conversation. I love podcasts. I'm so passionate about it, and yeah, I'm so thankful that you pick my podcast, because there's so many podcasts out there. We have an information overflow of everything, and yeah, I'm really grateful that you pick my podcast, that you get something valuable out of it, and yeah, that makes me so happy. I'm just super passionate about podcasts, and the feedback I get, it just warms my heart. So yeah, let me know your feedback. Let me know your future guests you want to have here. And I don't talk any longer because this podcast is already super long. But that's what I love about podcasts. There is not, oh, you have to hurry up and there's only the attention span of under 10 minutes. No, you just press pause, and when you want to continue to listen to, then you play again. And you know, when you're in the gym, when you cook, all these things, when you go for a walk, when you commute, there is no rush. And if there is a break because you do something else, then you just press pause and then play again. So these podcasts can go forever, and that's what I love, because you can truly, you know, get deep into something, talk slow, really, you know, go into a direction that isn't planned, and just be in the flow and elaborate on all kinds of stuff you haven't even planned out, and really build a deep bond. And, you know, before I listened to Nimai's podcast, his new podcast, Generation V, I didn't really knew who he was, how he is. And I only saw, you know, his Instagram posts and his caption. But I don't know, how is this guy really? But then after listening to like 5 podcasts, each over an hour, I truly felt like I know this guy, and that is so great. And you know me, if you're a long-time listener, if you have listened to over 3 episodes, then you know me. And that is so great that I make so many friends around the world, and cannot wait to meet you all. And that is so lovely, this cycle. So thanks for listening, and until next time, peace out.